up, whoa, we're gonna rise up. Whoa, we're gonna rise up, whoa, not gonna give up, whoa, we're gonna rise up. Rise up, yeah, oh, we're gonna rise up.
Welcome to Rise Up, hosted by me, Steve Collum. I'm so excited about today's interview because we have Michelle Lockey. Not only does she have a podcast, but she's very successful in the film and TV industry. She is a singer-songwriter artist, or I should say sync artist, which means that she has a lot of her music synchronized to film and TV, many really, really cool shows. We're also have a few collaborations that we've done together, which is really kind of exciting. And today we're going to really just kind of dive in and talk about many different subjects on running a business and finding the balance between life and work and how to fight that imposter syndrome that we all have. We all have that in some area of our lives. And so it's going to be really exciting. But before we get going, I wanted to remind you and let you know that this podcast is sponsored by my Patreon account. You can go there by going to patreon.com/Steve Collum. And the reason why I started this podcast, Rise Up, that includes inspirational and motivational messages, is because at the beginning of this year, me and my wife we're looking forward to meeting our new baby son, and he was stillborn at the beginning of the year, and we just we were totally devastated, of course. And after we started picking up the pieces, I thought to myself, what can I do that will to give him a voice? And even though he's not here, how can I give him a voice and give him a reason or a purpose that he was here? And so I decided to start this podcast, creating inspirational and motivational stories and lessons that would help you out, would help other people out. And the reason I started is because of him. And so I wanted to give him a voice. And so please consider going over to my Patreon account if you want me to continue doing this, and consider being a partner and sponsor this podcast. But without saying anything more, let's go ahead and dive into this amazing interview. How did they pay you money? Did they were you an employee? Like, just even so simple questions. Yeah. Trying to understand how the whole system works, and it was really cool because I was in Florida and in the middle of nowhere, I felt like, and I was connected to LA, so I was in the dead center of LA, and I think that I don't know if I could have done it 10 years earlier, being that far away.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing for me to kind of get into it. But going through the ups and downs, I'm a big, as I said, subscriber to everything comes in seasons. If you're in a summer right now, enjoy it, because there is going to be a fall and a spring. Sorry, a fall and a winter and then a spring, and there is. If there's a hill, there's going to be a valley, and so you just gotta know that that's all part of it. And it's really interesting. At the beginning of this year, me and my wife, we had a stillborn son, which was devastating, totally crushing, totally traumatic, and just the worst case scenario you could ever imagine. And it's like, I just remember, it's still a battle. It was only just 5.5 months ago, and it still hurts. We had Father's Day last weekend. It's like, oh gosh, it's like, I'm so sick of hurting. And it's like, but I think that the little steps through that, like last week, or no, but it must have been about 3 or 4 weeks ago, that I just had this picture or this image of life is a stream or a river. It's very messy. It splashes up on the sides where it's not supposed to. It splashes up on a rock, or it's just this stream, and the stream's full of colors, and everyone gets the colors. You get bright, sunny, yellow colors floating down your creek or your river. You get blues, but you also get deep reds where it's just a traumatic, devastating thing. And I think everybody gets that in their life. Everybody has every color in their life. Like every single
Mhm.
color you can imagine will come down your stream sometime. It might be all blue and yellow right now, or it might be pretty much all red or right now.
Yeah.
But it will clean up, and it kind of helped me a little bit for a couple of days.
Well, like this too shall pass kind of thing. But I feel like, man, since the pandemic, it's just one thing after another. It just keeps happening. I mean, so we had the pandemic, obviously, and then I had a concert that was like canceled like 2 days before. I was gonna because I had this vision of I wanted to have this concert. I wanted to tell stories behind the songs I was singing, and I wanted to raise money for pulmonary hypertension.
That's what happened.
My niece has that. She's on infused heart medication. I mean, they have to be very careful with her health. So it's like, they were dealing with that. And then COVID comes along. Um, so it was 2 days before I was going to have the concert, and then the lockdown happened. And I was like, and I was just by like 6 months later, I was like, oh, we'll have it in 6 months, whatever. But you're still locked down. And then I had two
Years
aunts
later.
die. Yeah, it's like I had two aunts die, I had two dogs die, and knee surgery, like all in a 6 month period. It's just it was, and then I had knee surgery, and then we found there was a stray dog somebody found, and her owners never came forward. So I mean, she was like an angel. We should have named her that. We named her Bailey after like an alcoholic drink because she's got a dark coat. I don't know. Anyway, so it's just something random. Um, so then, I don't know. It's like I feel like I keep getting bombarded with things, and like with the concert, I was like this close to being like, you know what, forget it. After I've got all the CDs, the T-shirts, the books are printed, it's like this is stupid. Forget it. Obviously, the universe does not want me to do this, but I did end up doing it. And I mean, there was still like not lockdown, but a lot of mass stuff and social distancing and all that. But the cool thing was that during all that, the church I had at my church auditorium, they developed a whole streaming system, like because they had to, because they
Mhm.
wanted to still have stuff go out online, and so it was like state of the art. So I got to stream it to everybody that couldn't come.
Mhm.
And there were some people that did come to the auditorium, and then everyone else was watching online. So I was glad I did it and pushed through it. I mean, I was really, really just be like, well, that's it. The universe just doesn't want me to do this anymore,
Yeah.
or something. Um, and then I thought everything was going back to normal. And then we had a tragedy over Thanksgiving where the foster dog of my parents bit my niece in the face. And and this is the one with the heart issues. So, and unfortunately, I mean, it kind of caused a family rift. So now we're kind of going through that, and it's just the whole thing. It, I'm like, what's happening here? Just, there's 5 years of the struggle, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I keep going and moving forward? And like you said, I mean, it's just if unless red is your favorite color, I guess this is my red period. I don't know. I'm just like, how long, man? And then you get a little spark of something where like I just got a placement in the Young and the Restless, right? That's a song you and I did, I think. Um,
Yeah, I
and you're
think.
like, yeah, it's the what you see in me, I think.
Yeah, was
Um,
it recent too? I forget.
yeah, it was like last week, and it was about a minute. It was pretty cool. So then you get like, little sparks of happiness. And I think, like you kind of learn it's true, enjoy the little things in life, right? You go outside, except for today, it's been like beautiful weather, and we can sit on our porch and listen to music. And we have a great my husband's into gardening now, so this huge garden with all kinds of produce, and you can go out and pick berries and just eat them. And so I
Yeah,
think,
and I tell you what, that's an understatement. You've got an amazing garden. I've seen some of the. You've had to make like all sorts of. I've seen you can or
oh
on
yeah,
stuff. You've canned so much vegetables, and you've got yeah. You got a huge garden. It's not a. It's almost a farm. You might as well say it.
yeah. Well, I call it a farm, and somebody laughed at me, but now we've got two huge plots in the back, plus like all these boxes up front, and It's really, yeah, we're gonna have like, anybody want a watermelon? Let me know. See if I can ship one to you. We're gonna have so many watermelons.
Wow, I
But
bet.
just kind of when all the big things are going on in your life, what can you find that brings you joy? And when I do sit down with my guitar and something does come out and write it, that does bring me joy, even though something is still trying to shut that down.
Mhm.
And finding and almost forcing yourself to sit down and do it. Like a lot of people say, oh, I wait for inspiration to strike.
Mm,
And I really think that you're the inspiration, right? You're the one who's got to sit down and make it happen.
yeah.
And that, did you ever read the book The War of Art by
Yeah.
Stephen Pressfield?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great book. I mean, and I really should read it again because he talks about, resistance. Like everything in this earth is almost designed to stop you from doing anything creative. And so you have to kind of keep pushing forward. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, when are my blue and pink colors coming from my river?
Absolutely, I know, and I know it's quite interesting, and so for people who have a dream or starting a business themselves,
Hmm.
they are going to have those red seasons or those valleys, and but you just got to get through. And one of the things I think you were kind of talking about is that you would force yourself because music was a part of the dream. Like even if the
Hmm.
dream didn't seem like it was working, or you'd have all these external things, just you would force yourself to go into your space, into your area, your sacred area, and grab your guitar and force yourself to start doing it.
Something. Yeah.
Whatever it is for that, because people have got dreams to write a book, or they might feel totally uninspired, and everything around them is bright red, or just it's just like it's just the last thing they want to do is do that. But if
Yeah.
that's their dream, I think that's a really inspiring thing for that you brought up, that go ahead and just do it, just start doing it. Don't worry, forget about inspiration, just you show up, you turn up, because
Right.
inspiration you can't control, but you can control yourself physically to go there. Even if you can't even, even if you're in the hospital, you can't even walk or anything. You can go there in your mind. You can start creating things in your mind. And I
Hmm.
love that. Yeah, everything in this world is trying to uh, take the creativity away. And one thing when you said that, one thing I realized too is that I'm a big believer in creating those habits. So
Hmm.
sometimes if I don't feel like going to the gym or practicing an instrument, because I still do, I do a bit of practicing of just little. When I say a little bit, I'm talking 5-10 minutes, because I know it adds up over a long period of time. And even if I don't feel like it, like we got back from vacation a couple of weeks ago, and of course you get the vacation blues, and you're like, oh, I want to be
I
back,
know.
and but I forced myself by habit to just go down to the gym, and I did like one rep of the things I do. It's not going to get you anywhere. Exactly. One, oh, okay, yeah, we're done. But it's the whole habit of
Yeah.
just turning up and doing it. And but anyway, so it's like just showing up is just so important. I think that was a really important key that you brought up.
Yeah. I'm the worst practicer though. That's definitely one thing I need to do. I mean, I just, my practice is like learning new songs, but yeah, it is key, I think, to get those habits. And even if it's a song you played a million times, let's say you're going out to a show and you haven't played it in forever, just run through it at least, once or twice.
Mm,
Um, because I've done it where I'm like, oh, I know all these songs, and then you get up there like, oh, how does this go again? I guess I'll just wing it.
yeah, I agree.
Nobody's gonna know, or maybe they will know. Maybe they don't care. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's keeping moving forward with something that you think you were built to do is definitely hard
yeah.
for sure.
So, all right. So I got another question here for
Yep.
you. I think you're about to ask me, but I'm diving in. So I know we haven't gone too far down the list here, but so my next question is, in your business, how important has relationships been?
Um, for me, especially really important because I couldn't do anything like initially. Like I had no idea. I mean, I knew about song structure somewhat. Just growing up, I found like one of my old songs I wrote. So, and I did write verse, chorus. But because I didn't know any of the technical stuff and I couldn't really play an instrument at the time, um, forming, relationships and friendships with people that kind of already knew things in the business or were already a certain skill level, um, helped me advance my skill level as well. Um, and then you start to become friends, and then you have this huge network of people that you can just, and when you're in town together, you can meet up or you can talk on Facebook. And it just, I think, opens up a bigger avenue, a bigger network of people. I mean, I collaborate with people in Ireland, Australia, Spain, um, and the internet, of course, social media would never be able to do that. And I've met these people in person as well. So for someone like me, when I was just getting into it and not being able to do a lot, technically other than write, and I had to learn how to record my own vocals and all of that. I think that was really important, and I think it was key to kind of keeping me moving forward and advancing over time. So definitely very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that if I was going to answer that question, I guess yeah, relationships are absolutely everything, especially too with collaborators and people creating the product, like creating the idea that of course you've got to sell to someone. So having relationships with the other side, with the people that will use it, that's just so important. And you
Mm-hmm.
just don't know where someone's going to be. Like if someone, for me, if me and Michelle, we're artists, so we'll write a song, but that song's just going to sit on our hard drive, or if we print it on a CD
Right.
or something. So we need to have these relationships. We need to meet people and kind of pitch, or even just have those conversations with people that would possibly use that, or possibly in our case we would pitch it to publishers, and the job of the publisher. And I kind of think, I kind of see publishers as a collaborator as well, because
Yeah.
they get paid when it gets placed. That's their deal. They go ahead and pitch the music all the time, but we have to have that relationship with that, more of that, closer to that end party.
Yeah. And if you get like in a good relationship with a publisher, 'cause I had one publisher who, he would critique and give, advice, and he would be like, look, I really like the song, but the way you're singing it isn't quite modern. Listen to these artists, A, B, C, D, whatever, and see about, re-singing it in that kind of style. So I learned how to do some different styles based on that feedback. And, you then when you know them, you can just chat about whatever, and it's not always about music, but they end up being a friend and a mentor in a way too. So I think that's always definitely good. Not just the co-writers, but yeah, the publisher side of it too. Just
Because
don't like get in their face at a conference. Hey, hey.
like that friend, hey, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? What are you doing for dinner? What
Yeah,
about lunch next week? What are you doing now? It's like, okay, hang on, I'm busy, I gotta go.
right, right.
And it's
Yeah, don't do that.
don't do that. And in the music world, it's so you see it so often that people are
Yeah.
just like, they're so desperate. And you also get that in the in any field. You've everyone whoever's listening now, you're thinking of that friend or that person in your group that's just like, you're a little needy. You're just like, settle down, just chill out. So,
I was like that initially. I definitely was because you kind of want something so bad, and I didn't know really how to communicate with people, right? It's especially someone you want something from.
yeah, yeah,
So that was definitely a skill to be learned, how to approach people, how to get introduced. And a lot of times through collaborations, you can get introduced to the right people.
yep,
Um, but yeah, just don't get in there. I did one time, so used to bring thumb drives, and I
oh,
had them on lanyards. And I remember coming up to one supervisor who's talking to somebody else, and I just butt right in. And I was like, "Oh, hey, I just want to say hi, I'm Michelle, and I'm going to give this to you." And I put it over his head, and I think I scraped his nose like with the the end of the lanyard. I was like, "Oh, not a good thing.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
and you're
Don't do
like,
that."
what happened there? Who was I? What? What
It
did
was
someone
just,
put something in my drink? What is this? I'm this is what I ordered.
God. It was, yeah, it was odd. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's hard not to do that initially, I think, because you're just so like excited. But yeah, just cautiously observe, always, be polite. Don't necessarily start with music, if there's a conversation piece. Now, if you meet somebody in an elevator and you have like 30 seconds and they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm so and so, I'm so and so. Oh, what do you do? What do you do?" It's good to have at least just a quick, "Hey, I'm so and so and I do this. Hey, you got a business card?" Yeah, and then you can contact them later or something like that.
That's
But
actually really good advice, especially for
yeah.
people in every dream or every area. Create
Mm,
that 30-second little pitch where it's interesting what you just said. If you're kind of in an elevator and you got that 30 seconds, then that's actual that would be totally okay to give your
mhm.
little pitch and say when they say, "So what do you do?" You're on for
Yeah.
for the next 15 seconds. You can say what you do, and that's totally okay. It's actually a little weird if they say, "So what do you do?" and you're like, "Oh, nothing."
I just write music. Yeah. Cool.
So that's it.
Ding, my floor.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you're meeting them like a guest speaker or something, if they've just come off the stage and you meet them in the lobby or whatever in whatever conference you're going to or something, or you see them there, then it's maybe a little bit,
Yeah.
as Michelle said, the lesson that she learned was like, you don't, maybe it might come off a bit strong to listen, check out my new book or check out
I
my
know.
manuscript. Will you sign this? Will you, is this is my next biggest movie. You need it.
I know. Oh man, yeah, looking back, I'm just like, oh, why? Why? But I was young or
And it's
young,
great.
young in the business.
It's a great lesson because we've all got those handful of those stories where you just whenever you think about it, you roll your eyes still to the day. But they probably like they might have thought about it if it was a really strong impression or a really crazy impression.
Yeah,
We might have remembered it for the next couple of weeks or something. But they right now they would have no clue. It's gone.
yeah,
But you still remember. It's a good
I
lesson.
do. Yeah, I definitely remember it. Terrible.
Absolutely.
Um, what about work-life balance, or is it all music all the time?
That is actually a really interesting question because the problem is, and this whole podcast for me on my side is, rise up, inspirational stories and motivational lessons, and the whole thing is you want to be in your dream, and so I've taken the step years ago to be in my dream, and so I've kind of like taken out the work side, so it's kind of like, well, I'm in my dream, so it's not work, but there is kind of work and there is still life. And it's really interesting because you just said the work life balance, and it's a blur. It's a lot clearer when you go to a job 9 to 5 that you
Yeah,
hate because you're like, that is definitely work. And I do not want to think about it when I've logged off or when I go home. Um, but when you're doing, like, so yeah, it's actually quite an interesting balance because I'm doing music 24/7, 7 days a
yeah,
week, and I have to force myself. And my wife Jessica always kind of encourages me, that's for sure, to go outside or so I'm having to always force myself to find things other things that I might like because I'm already doing the main thing I love.
yeah.
All the it's actually quite more of a struggle than you would think, and I'm sure that I can't wait to kind of hear your answer on this because
Yeah. Well, she is your spouse, is she a songwriter, musician too?
yep,
Yeah, so she kind of gets it. So,
yep,
I mean, the problem I have and just need to be aware of, like when I first started this, I mean, it was like on my mind all the time. Like it didn't matter what I was doing, where I was, if a lyric or idea came, I had to stop, I had to write it down, I had to record it, I had to whatever, whether we're out at dinner or whatever. And that I think kind of got annoying to my spouse.
right.
So
So you're having a conversation like, whoa, hold that thought. You're gonna right away.
Really, just a minute. Yeah, exactly. So, I've tried to, of course, if I have an idea that I'm by myself, or maybe I'll just run to the bathroom or something and put it down. But yeah, I've tried to partition that off so I have more focus when I need to, and have time to take care of the house, or have time to do stuff with the produce from the garden. Um,
The
and
farm, I could just see right now wheelbarrows of watermelons coming in, and they're just sitting on the porch while you're creating songs. And it's like,
just a minute. That would actually be a pretty funny video, music video, which is, yeah, lately I've been getting to try to do a lot of music videos. But anyway,
that's
so, and I do have an hourly job that I'll go in. It's a lot of technical stuff, because I'm, like with mixing and engineering, it's technical, and my mind is kind of do that because just to have some extra income, and just because sometimes I just need to get away and get out of here, so that when I can go there and I can focus there for a couple hours, a day, or I might have several days off. Then when I come back and I'm like, okay, I don't have to go to the office today, then I can parse my day out like around music, and then I'll take a break around whatever, and then I'll go do something for the house, or trying to make it a point to stretch and work out in the morning and stuff, get that out of the way. And if I don't do it in the morning, I'll do it in the afternoon. Um, so I've been a lot better at being able to partition that stuff, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And balance it out, just being respectful to others and that kind of thing, so I'm not all consumed. Because when you first realize, like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this, it's all consuming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all consuming, because you're learning so much, you're excited, you really want to move forward, and so sometimes you just have to be careful about that, because my spouse, he's not musical at all, but he is science, so we have that in common. And then now with the gardening and stuff, so we both try to share that, although he's out there more than I am, because I'm like, I'll take the stuff and do something with it, but I'm not the one.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. You've dropped some great and shared some great wisdom and some great experiences. We've all got to go through these kind of things, and I want to encourage the listeners that if if there's anything that jumped out, reach out to Michelle, reach out and follow her and sign up to her podcast, and it's just be amazing just to kind of keep hearing her story and keep following her. And we all face these kind of things, and these are all issues. These are all things that we're going to be going through as we chase our dreams. And so, but I want to thank you for spending the time watching and listening to this podcast. If you have the chance, or if you'd like me to keep continuing doing this, please head over to my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/Steve Comm, and consider being a partner. Consider sponsoring one of these, or a few of these, or a monthly subscription. We've got many different things there, and I want to continue doing this. The whole reason why I wanted to start this motivational and inspirational podcast was because my stillborn son Asher, I wanted to give him a voice. I wanted to give him the opportunity to make people better, make people better. And the way that he's doing that is by me starting this up and giving him that voice and giving him that opportunity to be a part of this. And he's the reason why I'd started this. So please head over there if you want me to keep doing this. And we'll see you in the next one. All right, later.